What up, people? I am back for another video. Sorry I didn't do a video yesterday. I'm just gonna announce this now. I think I'm gonna just give up on the Starship Troopers movies. I think I might just stick with the first one. If I do the other ones, it'll be a while. I don't want to keep dragging this on for weeks, and I'm not even gonna end up doing it. So I'm just gonna, because I'm gonna be honest. There's a part of me I don't even really want to watch them. I already saw after seeing 3. I'm just like, I don't really need to touch 4 or 5. I think I'm just gonna skip those. But I'll announce this. I watched Barbie. Not in theaters. I'll say that now. I did not see it in theaters. Sailed the seas. And holy shit. It's a mix because it's like there's things, and obviously I'm not the fucking target audience, but 27-year-old man, I'm not the target audience. But I look at it this way, right? Like, you could have still I can watch movies I'm technically not the target audience for, but I mean the big example, Buffy. That technically not the target audience for that. Arguably, I'd say that show is more for girls, but they still a great series. Party of Five is a drama show. That's not something for me, but still a good show. So I can watch it. That theoretically is not for me. I'm not like I can't, but anyway, I'm reviewing that tomorrow. I was gonna do my updated Buffy ranking, but I might save that for next week because I found a Screen Rant article and I want to rip it apart. I'm going to rip it apart Sunday because I think I'm going to do Barbie tomorrow. Just think it makes more sense. It'll probably be like really late night though because I got to do doing a birthday dinner with my grandmother tomorrow. So I'll probably do it like after that, or it'll definitely be later tomorrow. Or I'll see if I can maybe try to do it in the afternoon, but it'll be one of those. But today I am gonna rip apart the 2021 Candyman movie. I remember watching this the first time. I was already kind of iffy about it when the trailers came out, but I was like willing to give it a chance. Luckily didn't pay for it. A friend took me to see it. And my fucking god, I was so angry. That if I ever did a list of the angriest times I've been at a movie, this would be up there. I was so pissed because I really like that original Candyman. And, I just did the sequels. They're not the greatest, but they're better than this shit. This was just, let's say it was BLM propaganda. It wasn't even a horror movie. I mean, I think this film committed 2 big crimes. Obviously, the BLM propaganda part, but to me, the bigger crime, it was fucking boring. I have never been so bored. Just sitting there, you don't care about any of these characters. You just kind of want the movie to go. And I was stumped when it came out because there were people defending it. I was like, how? How can you like this movie? I was even rewatching this today. It almost like brought it all back, all the rage I was feeling, and it was just like, holy shit, man! How? It's shot well. That's about the only positive I can say. It's shot well, and some of the parts where it's like this, I don't know what to call it, like it's kind of like animation where it's like, I don't know, could you stop motiony kind of? That looked good, but it was just, it was everything wrong. There was no horror element, like at all. Like, or they try. It's a pseudo. I look at it as a pseudo psychological horror movie because it acts. They think psychological horror is just you got to see trippy shit. No, that's not all psychological horror is. And they clearly think that's all it was because that's all I felt like it was. Oh, let's just show you some trippy imagery the whole fucking movie and make you think we're being psychological when it fucking wasn't. You don't care. Anthony, it's about this he's like an artist, and like just from the jump, man, they don't even like clown. And also the whole multiple Candyman thing is basically what it happened was that you have the original story what happened with Daniel, but what they did was, oh, we're gonna also make it to like other souls. Basically the narrative was, the black people who were killed unjustly basically becoming, that was stupid. No, you muddied the water. What made the Candyman story was he was a one-of-a-kind character, and you just introduced this element randomly, no build-up. It made no fucking sense. You made, in the biggest crime, so there's 3. This is probably the biggest, though. You made, they marketed it like, oh, we have Tony Todd back, and they made such a big deal that they announced he was back. He's fucking only in it for like, I think I said for 5 minutes, but honestly, it's probably less than that the more I think about it. It's at the very fucking end. And it wasn't even really him doing the killings. It was Anthony, because they basically are setting him up to become a Candyman, and he kills like a bunch of cops. It's like they're doing this like Candyman's like a savior to the black community thing, which that's not what he fucking was. He was an urban legend who killed everybody, and you fucked that up. And somehow people are trying to say, oh, the original had that element. Yeah, the original, his story does have that racial element, but that wasn't his only component. If anything, it was more of that supernatural element. He was basically Bloody Mary. If you actually look at the original story, Clive Barker, it was going to be in London, and he was going to be a white guy. And, but they changed it to, I guess, quote unquote, modernize it, but in a good way, not like how it is now. And it's so disappointing that like that's what they decided to do. It's like, I wasn't inherently against a Candyman sequel. If you're gonna bring Tony Todd back, go like kind of like how Halloween 20. Granted, they fucked it in the end, but Halloween 2018 and Kills. You brought Jamie Lee Curtis back, and you try to actually make a movie of it. At least she was in the movies. She wasn't just brought back and just in it for like 5 minutes like Tony Todd was, and he doesn't even get any meaningful dialogue. And the fucking thing, because I fucked up thing is he's gonna be voicing Venom in the new Spider-Man game, and he still has like an intimidating voice. So it's like in 2021, you could have had him have a great moments of dialogue because Candyman isn't like the franchise where it's about like body count. So I was fine with that, but then they went this just. I'm gonna go more into it. Like they don't. It's not subtle. Every white person's evil. Every black person's a victim. Every fucking none of the characters are likable. The thumbnail of this video is gonna be these basically, I guess, Anthony's wife, or I guess wife, like, he's like her brother's gay, right? And they're a gay couple, which, whatever, that's not my problem. It's just, this movie is for bougie people. Like, that's what this feels like to me. This is for pseudo-intellectual people who think they're saying something. Because there's so many points where it's just that, like, yeah, they mention gentrification in the original, right? But it was subtle. There was a subtleness to it. And also, you still had that urban legend, creepy atmosphere. You don't have that in this at all. There's no creepy atmosphere. We're just going to show you trippy shit that's not creepy atmosphere at all. That's just, I'm going to show you some sort of trippy imagery to make you fool you thinking you're watching something that's scary when it isn't. The kills aren't even good, and it's not even fucking Tony doing it. And there's no dialogue. Like when Candyman is killing in this, it's just him killing, and then there's no dialogue. Like what? One of the best things about Candyman when he killed was the dialogue and how personal he made it with whoever he was chasing. It's, oh my god, this movie was frustrating. It's like, you could have made something decent, but of course, it was written by Jordan Peele, who's a fucking hack. That's all he can do. It's like, there's the subtlety of being beaten with a sledgehammer. That's what this movie was. Like, there was no subtlety to it compared to the original. There was no urban legend feel to it. They try to make it seem like there is, but it really isn't. Like, it's in the back burner. The multiple Candyman thing, I don't like the idea of it anyway. To me, Tony Todd is Candyman. It's this weird, like, and it just doesn't make any sense introducing it. So, man, this could have been great, but if somebody else written it, it could have been good. But they decided to go this route, and I mean, that's fine. I just don't understand how you could say this is good. There's no horror element. The characters are shit. It's boring as fuck. Like just nothing really happens, and even the kills I feel like are boring. When Candyman is just killing with no dialogue, it's like he's not Michael Myers, he's not Jason. One of the things he does when he kills is fucking talk. Like, one of the best things is Tony Todd's voice. Like, that Be My Victim scene from the original is so good. You don't have that here. You just, Oh my, why even bring Tony back if you're gonna fucking do this shit? It's so frustrating. If you're gonna do this shit, at least make an original story. Don't fucking take Candyman and co-opt it just to make some propaganda. Then this weird element where Candyman's a savior of black people, and that's not true. Candyman killed black people in the movies, so that's not true. So it's such a frustrating movie, and I'll admit I never wanted to watch it again, but it was worth it to an extent so I can at least rip it apart. Because I never really gave my thoughts about it at the time. Because I don't know, I just at the time didn't want to make a video about it. Because then I was like, part of me at the time was like, oh, that means I'd have to watch it again. But I think it's worth it now. And I felt like if we're going to do Candyman, we have to watch this one again. I can't just not. So, yeah, anyway. Tomorrow, I'm talking about another pretty shit movie, Barbie. So it's going to be 2 days of shit. And then at least I'll be able to rip apart a shitty article on Sunday, so at least there'll be that. So anyway, I'm gonna probably start this weekend putting together my list for 1995. So that's gonna be on Monday. I'll for sure do World Is Not Enough on. I'll either do World Is Not Enough like on Monday morning, so we can still get to Die Another Day on Tuesday this coming week. But yeah. Let's get started on Candyman. This is not Candyman. I'm just gonna call it BLM Candyman. That's why I call it that. I try to like separate it from the Candyman movies. Candyman 2 and 3 weren't great. 2 was decent. I think 2 was probably the better of the two. 3 was pretty but at least 3, Tony Todd was still in it. Tony Todd carried those movies. That's what I mean when when I brought this up with the mean one. At least if you have Tony Todd saying stuff and if this movie at least had Tony Todd having some good dialogue moments, I could at least give it some points, even if the movie itself is still shit, even with the BLM propaganda. If you at least had the fucking Tony Todd having some good lines and some good moments in the film, I could have given it at least something, but they didn't. You wasted it. And I just feel like it's an insult. That's why it's even worse when people try to defend it. I'm like, Tony Todd's not even. Why was he even in the movie? Like, it really just. I mean, I know why, member berries, but he doesn't even. If you're gonna do member berries, at least go all out. At least in No Way Home, fucking Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were in the movie and said something. They weren't just there and then just were silent and then were there for only like 5 minutes, probably even less than that. Because the end, it's like, it starts off as Anthony, whatever the fucking main character's name is, like as Candyman, and then he turns into fucking Tony, or Daniel. It's such a disappointment because it's like they mention him throughout the film, but it's like if you look in the original Candyman, it's not like Candyman's in every scene, right? He's not in it a lot, but you feel his presence. That's the other thing. You feel his presence. Even in the sequels, you feel his presence throughout the film. You don't feel that here. He just shows up. So anyway, let's get into it. So the movie basically starts off in the 70s, where this case of this homeless man is basically beat by cops, and and like a Candyman killing happens. And then we jump, and this is where we meet Anthony, who's a painter, is doing these paintings, says the Candyman's name 5 times. But the problem even like starts off like in the beginning of that original, you feel the presence of not even just the presence, but like the presence of the lore even of Candyman from like you don't have that here. Like it's there, but it's not. It doesn't feel like it is. Like I feel like that first 30 minutes to 40 minutes could easily have just been like this could have been some other fucking like drama movie and it would have worked. Because the narrative is Anthony's going crazy because he's starting to see Candyman, and There's even a scene he gets stung by a bee, which the bee looked like shit. Like the CGI even for the bee looked horrible. I'm assuming it was CGI, but yeah. So I'm just gonna jump. They have an art gallery. I guess this couple's like about to hook up in the art gallery place. It's like after everybody left, and we have our first murder. But the problem is you don't see it. You see like Candyman in like the reflections, but it's not Tony Todd, by the way. It's like some other person because throughout the film we get the reveal that Candyman, there's other souls who were, wrongfully killed in basically racial incidents. And the issue is it's like it's being beaten with a hammer it's like I'm gonna talk about this with Barbie tomorrow, but except, with the genders where all the men are evil and then all the women are good. It's the same thing here. There's not realistic. It's very much like, oh, all the white people are evil or dumb and or I'll admit I was shocked they didn't even go to the extent I have like a full on racist character like the third one did, but at least it's just they really went that route with this. It was like there was that element in the original, obviously with Daniel's story, but it was a Bloody Mary element. That's kind of what the Candyman story was this legend. You say his name and he wants to collect souls, and they also make it seem like he killed because he wanted revenge. No, that was never why he became Candyman. That it was more about just he kept killing, so it kind of, in a way, like kind of fed him, like his, kept collecting bodies. But no, they didn't go that route with this. It was like I was going to keep saying there was no horror element. The pseudo fucking psychological horror shit was pissing me off because it was like he would randomly, even his wife, there was a scene she dreamed like she saw Candyman, and the Candyman outfit looked terrible, like the like the jacket looked terrible, looked cheap. The first kill, I'm gonna go back to that scene, just isn't good. I'm not. I understand Candyman's not like Terrifier. I'm not expecting like bodies to be ripped apart, but when you don't see Candyman even doing the killings, it's just not like you see like the guy clearly get hooked, but there's no actual hook because you don't see Candyman doing it because they're doing this weird like mystery. Why are we doing that? Well, we know who Candyman is. If you just did it with Tony Todd in this scene, have him go after Anthony because maybe he's a relative of his. You could have even, if you're gonna do a reboot, do something like that. It's so fucking frustrating that you couldn't just turn your fucking agenda off for 2 seconds. If you're gonna have it, fine, but at least make a good goddamn story. And you did it. You didn't make a compelling story. I just was just ready for this shit to be over. Even at the time, it was crazier when going back and looking back, like that first time I watched this, I wasn't thinking it was gonna be this. Like, and then, the next morning, because one of his paintings is called Say My Name, which, if you fucking know what's going on or what happened during I'll just say 2020, besides COVID, just say that, it was like they laid it on thick. There's a scene he talks. I'm assuming it's this therapist. Then they just get into a debate about gender. Like, what? You could have made this character interesting and actually explore like his mental health or something. No, you could no. You didn't. Like the original was so subtle, man. It was woven into the story naturally. But no, you couldn't do that here. You can't. You couldn't. You had to. I don't even fucking know. Like it was weird because like how many people at the time were trying to defend this, and I hate to say it like this, but I think it was because either Jordan Peele was involved and people like there's this weird cult of Jordan Peele where they think he makes these great movies, but for me, he has not made one good movie because he has shown this is all he can do. He can just do this pseudo intellectual, like take out the agenda shit. It's just pseudo intellectual shit. I don't want that in horror. I don't like pseudo intellectual horror. You can have good psychological horror. This isn't it. If you want good psychological horror, watch. I mean, even the original Psycho, I would even say. But fucking The Thing, that's it's sci-fi horror. But The Thing, the original Candyman, Nightmare on Elm Street. Watch those. You don't need to watch fucking, Nightmare on Elm Street slash, but I also do consider it psychological. So it's like, you have other horrors. You don't need to watch this movie. This movie was fake psychological, because all Anthony throughout the film would see is like either like trippy imagery and he's going crazy. Like the scene in the elevator, because it's like the elevator gets in, it has like a bunch of like, it's like kind of like things that look like basically a mirror. So it's like reflective. So it would have been kind of cool. You could have had a cool trippy scene with him and like Tony. No, it was just he kind of sees him for a second, and it's not even Tony Todd's Candyman. It's like a different one. And I just remember at the time, like, what are we doing? Why is there other Candyman? And then we go, because he has, I guess, this like other group who basically believe in the Candyman story, who tell of this. That's why, and he like starts getting obsessed with these paintings, and then we get basically the scene that they put the trailers in where Candyman was killing in the bathroom. It's like these high school girls saying his name, and it was just not. Even that scene wasn't. That could have been great. No, it just, you don't see him do the killings. He feels like a ghost, but he's not. It's so weird. I don't understand what they were doing. I don't know if Tony, like, if it's a case Tony Todd could do the physical stuff, but I don't believe that. Because Candyman, it's not like he's gonna get into a fight or anything. He's not like gonna have a big chase scene. He's not Ghostface or even Freddy, who did do stunts, right? So it's like, hold on. I just wanted to see if the camera's still going. But it's like, he's not gonna have like this big fight scene, so it's not like he's gonna do a lot of physical shit. So it's I would have been fine if, but no, they had to go this weird route and not even have him in the movie and have any genuinely good scenes. And I don't remember what else happens. Like after that scene, we get the reveal that it was the one friend he was talking to throughout at that shop when he would meet with him. He's the actual one, because he wanted to basically set up Candyman. It was weird, man. This element came out of nowhere. Kidnaps his wife and basically watches, because Anthony's like stung with a bunch of bees. His hand is chopped off. This setup for this there was no setup for this. So she ends up killing him. Like she like takes a knife, like, or they get into like something happens, and um or like, yeah, she ends up freeing herself, kind of get a chasing. He ends up killing him, or she ends up killing him, and Anthony comes, and then we get. I'll admit, the scene where he before this is before she escapes. The dude puts the hook on Anthony's hand. I'll admit that looked kind of brutal. At least just because that visually looked brutal. But then, yeah, so he kills him, and then Anthony tries to come up to her. Then the cops show up. They don't even show the cops even, and then they just shoot. They say, like, freeze, and they shoot him. It's literally comical. Like, I know what they're doing, and it's like, they're fucking, oh, we gotta do, cops kill a black person wrongfully, but they don't, it's not even done realistically. The cops literally just said freeze and they shoot him. Like, it's not even, so, and they end up for some reason arresting her. Okay, okay. And then he comes back and kills the cops. Like, this is what I mean when they're saying basically make Candyman like he's the savior of the like black community, like killing these racist cops and stuff. It's delusional, man. Like, if you're gonna do this kind of shit, at least do it with your own shit. Don't take something like Candyman and just turn it into that, because it's not even a horror movie. I'm gonna keep reiterating it. There's no moment where I felt like there was, even in like the original. I mean, obviously, I don't really get scared nowadays, but at least you could at least even feel it, in that original. There's none of that here. And then this is where Tony Todd shows up, because after he like looks at her, he turns into like the bees kind of cover him, and he turns into Daniel. And then the film ends. It's such trash. It's like, you took such a great idea, and you were gonna do a Candyman sequel. I wasn't narrowly against that. but he has a different relative. But at least have Tony Todd in the movie. But no, and then you bring in this random other element of other Candyman. It's a, hold on, give me a sec. The other thing I was thinking was that this is a case where it's a bunch of ideas. It is not a movie. It's just a bunch of shit. There's no cohesive tissue or anything like that to connect anything. It just feels like a bunch of scenes put together. And that's like the problem with a lot of movies. But this is like, but why do that with Candyman? You could have just you marketed it like Tony Todd was back. He made such a big deal, and then he's not even in the movie. You don't have any meaningful scenes with him. You just wasted him. And it sucks because he's such a great actor. He's such a good. This is his role. He is Candyman, and then you introduce this other Candyman element, and it makes no sense. And it's just stupid on the sorry about that. Basis of it, Candyman to me is Tony Todd. It's like if you were to do a movie like Nightmare on Elm Street and have it be like there's other Freddys. It's stupid. No, that's not. Tony Todd is Candyman. That's what made him so unique. It was that he was the only one. Having it just these other ones for whatever reasons. I don't know. Did they not want Tony Todd? I don't even understand. Did they just wanted to do a bait and switch? Did they just want to say, oh, we have Tony Todd, but we're not going to actually have him do anything meaningful? Just so they can get this, I guess, people to go see it. It's so sad because he made that role. That first Candyman is great. And I think a modern Candyman, if they took out obviously all the gender shit and it not be boring and you have compelling characters, you could have made it work. I saw a comment where someone said they could have made it like Freddy's Revenge, where, or at least the element of Freddy, wanting, taking over Jesse's body. You could have did something like that where he wanted a host because maybe he's getting weaker and he needs a host for a second. I think that element could kind of work in Candyman, and have it be that Anthony's. If you're gonna do that element, maybe Anthony's kind of in the, or something like that, or like he looks in the mirror and it's Tony Todd. And they could have some great like back and forth. You could have did something like that. You could have actually fucking tried, and you just had to do this shit. And how's it looking? No one talks about that movie anymore. People liked it at the time, but notice no one really talks about it anymore. Even other horror remakes still get talked about. Halloween reboot, 2018 reboot still gets talked about now. So it's not just the idea it's a reboot and we just move to the original. There's people who talk to other horror reboots. I feel people still talk about this one. Just kind of it happened, and some people didn't even know what happened at the time. So fuck this movie. It doesn't exist to me. It to me is a spit in the face of the original. Don't even watch it. I think if you really love the original, there's no need to watch this one. The characters are terrible. The only positive is like the visuals, and like I said, I've said this before. It's not hard to have good visuals. Granted, I was saying in the context of 2023, but even in 2021, that's only 2 years ago. Even the context of then, it's not hard to make a movie look good. So that to me is not really a positive. It's like, okay, it looks good, but there's some decent, okay cinematography at times, but even then, the same thing. That's not hard to do now. So this movie was absolutely trash. I want to give it I'm borderline. I just want to give it a 1. I rarely just give a movie a flat out of 1, but this is one of those times. The fact that how disrespectful it is to the original, and the fact that people try to defend this, I will never understand. It's not even. It's like I've never. It's one of those cases where it feels like I just got beaten in the head with a sledgehammer. With a sledgehammer full of like just agenda, and I'm gonna talk about that tomorrow too. It's a theme. Because, yeah, that's what this movie was. It was for the pseudo-intellectual crowd. That's what this felt like to me. It's Candyman, but for pseudo-intellectuals who think they're saying something profound. Fuck this movie. So, After today, I am never watching it again. I am not touching this movie again. Fuck it. So, anyway, guys, tomorrow I'm gonna review Buffy. Not Buffy. I wish I was talking about that. Barbie. Fucking hell, I can't believe, guys, I'm actually doing that. I'm actually gonna watch. I actually watched Barbie. I'm still stumped too. So anyway, cheers. I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Fuck Candyman 2021. Stick to the original. Alright, y'all. Talk to y'all later.